In late July of 2021, when I was living in Bali, my YouTube channel revolved around investigative journalism. I was about to travel back to the United States for my brother's wedding, and my parents wanted me to get vaccinated.
Yes, Mom, I'm going to get the vaccine for the love of God!
Up to that point, I had not dove into the narrative of the anti-vax debate, and a newbie like me getting hit with all the info at once would be the perfect story, but I was nervous. Journeying into the world of conspiracy theories felt like navigating a claustrophobic cave system, full of twists and turns and full-on loops. Examining pharmaceutical greed can quickly lead to the conclusion that everyone with significant wealth and power are reptiles. Like actual reptiles. Lizard people. I was nervous that I might be convinced that the facade of my innocent, ignorant life would be ripped away and leave me in psychological ruin, like it did in 2010. I do admit that the idea of getting back down these rabbit holes and back to the community and cause was thrilling. The good guys versus the purest of evils.
Well, fuck this!
What could be more exciting than that?
You're not gonna take my freedom.
I wouldn't let myself get sucked in so easily, however. Knowing that one theory led to another, lizard people, I would go slow and address each connection separately. But this should be easier than it was back in 2010. Since I left, the conspiracy community became mainstream thanks to Assange and Snowden, and with all the new eyes scrutinizing the monumental amount of open information, there had to exist a common web that everyone agreed upon. So I began by searching out a guide who could give me the COVID is bullshit for dummies kind of thing, and see if I would be convinced.
Yes, this is Jordan.
The initial subjects of my interviews were highly sensitive to outsiders who might mock them, or worse yet, who might be spies.
Spy? Well, I used to spy on the girls at camp, but hello?
Anytime I wanted to clarify a point or ask for deeper evidence, they would get upset, hasty. They would accuse me of being a sheep to the media or too afraid to see the truth.
Dude, I'm not the sheep. I'm a wolf.
But I remembered a friend of mine, Felixx, who would often give me reasonable information here and there about the corruption of media or strangeness around the COVID vaccine.
Remember when you were telling me about how fucked up COVID is? Yeah.
I told him of my project idea, that I needed to get the vaccine before leaving Bali, and how difficult it was to talk to people about it. He chuckled knowingly, saying it's hard to keep a level head studying all this stuff.
Don't I know?
But that I should definitely not take the vaccine.
It's crazy. I know.
But he seemed even-tempered and was eager to educate me. So we began.
Man, let's do it.
I started off by asking if I wanted to get started with the very basics of COVID and everything, what would be the first video I should consume? He sent me a link to a video uploaded the same day from X22 Report on rumble.com. Rumble was where people, many of whom were kicked off YouTube, posted video that was too controversial for mainstream platforms. The video thumbnail had a smug President Trump photoshopped in front of the US Capitol, throwing a boomerang with the words, "We caught them all," etched onto it. The piece was titled Episode 2532B, Year of the Boomerang, Biggest Scandal in American History, Treason. I found out the B in the episode meant that it was the second video of the day. Desolate video. But luckily for me, this latest video talked about the biggest scandal in American history ever. I had a VIP pass right to the front of the line. Felixx said, "There's an advertisement in the beginning, just ignore that. But seriously listen to the video's analysis."
Okay, thanks, man.
And as an added incentive, he said, "I have a QAnon t-shirt ready for you. LOL."
Yeah.
I reminded him that this was serious YouTube investigative reporting. It was the most dramatic opening I'd ever seen. It felt like whatever I was about to watch was as serious as a briefing for a mission to rescue hostages from Alcatraz. The video was a still of the boomerang thumbnail with the faceless host speaking over it.
This is episode 2532B.
I needed something a little more basic than episode 2532B. So I asked Felixx what he would send a little boy who loves his government and who believes pharma companies make medicine to help people, etc. He said,
"When you say that you love your government, man, that is scary. You really have no idea how demonic they are."
After I made my point clear, he recommended Vaxxed with 2 X's, a full-length documentary that exposed the MMR vaccine given to toddlers and its link with autism. The film was tasteful and more understated than the boomerang explosions and drama. The data was plausible. The experts and doctors delivering the anecdotes and information seemed credible and eloquent.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the absolute certainty from the parents that their children suddenly changed after taking the vax really put the hooks into me.
Oh my God, that is so fucked up.
By the end of the video, I was certain that all pharmaceutical executives were evil and that no vaccine was to be trusted.
You're evil.
What would I tell my mom? I was seeing corruption everywhere, just like in 2010. In the late 2000s, early 2010s, the underground conspiracy and survivalist communities were booming because of the online sensation Zeitgeist. The film covered topics like the feebleness of our financial system, 9/11 being an inside job, and even went as far as to debunk religion. But because it was organized and clearly outlined, it appealed to a broader audience, especially to young adults like me who were just finding their footing in society. And suddenly all the conspiracies I would have previously laughed at now made total sense.
Never thought of that.
Not just 9/11, but the JFK assassination, the moon landing, just simple steam spewing out from airplanes. Deception, all of them. There was no other choice. I picked up a book called Emergency by Neil Strauss, and I became a survivalist, or prepper. Parroting the author's journey, I practiced survival skills in frozen deserts. I got a motorcycle so I could weave through traffic and wreckage when I had to leave the city. I almost took a rescue course to get a badge and uniform, ensuring that I could pass through any checkpoints on my way out. As I mentioned, it all gave me a tremendous sense of purpose, and I felt like I was part of something. But I was also becoming more and more paranoid. I saw all statements from politicians and corporate heads as deceitful and nefarious. Anyone who tried to pull me away from this form of thinking was seen as brainwashed, completely unaware of the information out there. Had I continued on this course, I would have been a full-fledged flat earther, Pizzagatist, and ultimately would have joined QAnon and probably raided the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021. Okay, maybe I wouldn't have been a flat earther, but you can't imagine living this way. Powerless and trapped with nowhere to run. When you look through this lens and doubt everything around you 24 hours a day, you even begin to question reality itself. The endless loop of connecting theories made me so anxious that I was losing sleep and falling behind at work. Pretty soon, I was getting heart palpitations. So I decided, even if I was a puppet to a greater evil, that I had to stop. All of it. At first, I had to force myself, but eventually, through reason and empathy, I found my way out, and with strong conviction. So fast-forwarding back to 2021, after the shocking revelations of Vaxxed, that old feeling came creeping in.
Those bastards!
How did I not know about this glaringly obvious truth, and why didn't the mainstream outlets cover it? I jumped in and found out that Robert De Niro featured Vaxxed in his Tribeca Film Festival and was advocating vaccine scrutiny on the Today Show.
Everybody doesn't seem to want to hear much about it. And you guys are the ones that should be the investigating. Do the investigating.
Robert De Niro? Since when does he advocate anything except business suits over tracksuits? Man, this was bad. X-22 was right. We needed to wake up. Curiously, though, I found out that De Niro had eventually taken the film out of the festival, and he was walking back his comments.
It was controversial because people felt that the filmmaker had been discredited.
Even he, I'm not so sure about.
Okay, objectivity. But obviously De Niro was silenced by Big Pharma, right? Looking even deeper, I found out that the main doctor interviewed in Vaxxed was also the director of it. The producer was interviewed too. In a documentary, there is often a stink of self-indulgence and self-promotion when it sneaks in its own director or producer as impartial third-party sources. I texted Felixx, "Oh my God, the well-spoken doctor in Vaxxed is the director?" He replied,
Let me guess, you're watching a video on YouTube saying that Vax is bullshit, aren't you?
I replied, "Oh man, you think I'm just gonna watch anything you send me and then not do research?" Then he sent me the nervous laughing emoticon, along with the middle finger emoticon. Big red flag. It didn't take me long to find out that the good doctor's medical license had been taken away 5 years before the film was made. The allegations included receiving payment from outraged parents to conduct the studies, fudging data from his findings, and diagnosing children with autism due to the MMR vaccine who never ever had autism. Ever. Or were showing symptoms of autism before they received the jab. I told Felixx what I found, and he said,
Jordan, my man, don't take the vaccine. Talk to your brother and tell him to postpone the wedding.
Wow. I said, "You want me to drop my brother's wedding after watching a documentary that never shows their damning piece of evidence, never follows up with the whistleblower they only have recordings of, and where the whole movie is based on retracted medical studies?" Look, I'm not saying that COVID is legit just yet, but one broken documentary proves that all vaccines are poison? He said,
It's okay, Jordan. It's just the beginning. Like you said, it's only the first documentary.
Then he sent me a JPEG that showed how every illness and every vaccine all traced back to Henry Kissinger and the Nazis, saying,
This is why it's so complicated to explain. But what you need to understand is that everything is connected. Money is the root of all evil.
The JPEG was interesting. Maybe it was the cohesive web I was searching for. "Now we're talking," I said. Then he said,
CNN is finished. Nobody will listen to their lies anymore.
Yeah, fuck CNN.
I said, "You are my deep throat." No response. About a week later, he sent me another video from rumble.com about how a university in Spain claimed to have visual confirmation of poisonous graphene in one of the vaccines. The video was titled Breaking Discovery. The actual contents inside files exposed.
Peter's show, you can visit Cortez Wealth Management anytime.
The video was impressive, but my research found that the university had already denounced all claims, and even the scientists in the study clearly stated that they needed chemical testing confirmation and that nothing should be taken seriously until many more repeat testings were conducted. This is how science actually works. The woman breaking the story claimed to be a medical expert, but it turns out she only had a doctorate in education, according to factcheck.org. She was waiting for chemical confirmation so that they could really stick it to the drug companies. But regardless, said to Stu, the host, "Stu, there's no other reason for this to be in here except to murder people."
Stu, there's no other reason for this to be in here except to murder people.
Okay, so then going back to, and I'm not a lawyer.
I went to
but I am gonna
Felixx
prosecute.
and told him it was very dangerous to accuse companies of murder, especially when they had no chemical proof. I also showed him that the woman in the video was not the medical expert she claimed to be. Felixx said,
I don't have to explain everything to you. You want to keep your perspective in this life of lies? Go ahead. It's not my problem, and I respect your deluded state of mind.
Then he sent me articles about the dangers of graphene, as if I was claiming that graphene was perfectly safe. I then asked if he thought this medical expert would admit that they were wrong if tests came back negative for graphene, and then retract their murder statement. But he never gave me a straight answer.
Answer me!
I was about done with Felixx, and fearing that I wouldn't find anyone to talk to logically, I was very close to shit-canning the entire thing. But I decided to watch just one more suggestion from him. One more shot. This time, an expose on the mastermind behind it all, the Antichrist himself, Bill Gates, and his vaccination efforts in developing countries. Felixx gave me some parting wisdom before the viewing.
Feel your convictions,
he said. The video opened with a banger, a clip of Gates at a press panel, and with a little giggle, he quotes,
"We're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein."
When I heard this, the back of my head got cold. Advanced deepfakes didn't exist yet. This wasn't AI, so there was no denying it. He was admitting it right there.
Talk about a smoking gun.
The video went on to document Gates' alleged total fuck-ups administering these vaccines to Africa and India. The world of Felixx was pulling me in again. But then I saw the same quote repeated in the middle of the documentary, and it sparked me to check into the source material.
Is there something to worry about with medicines? That is, might some of them have side effects? Do we need safety testing? And we're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein. So, yeah, I think maybe we should have a safety system where we, do trials and test things out.
They fooled me again. I had to hand it to these hit piece creators. They were masters of presenting just the right soundbite, just the right clue to totally captivate an audience into believing in the most extreme views. But how? How was I so easily duped into believing this narrative by such an obtuse example of something so out of context? What content creator would ever think that anyone would be so stupid as to not check the... And that's when it hit me. That was exactly why I was fooled. Because I would never dream that a director or producer or reporter would ever try to pull something like that. It was so embarrassing how much time I had wasted on this project, Rumble.com, and worse yet, my friend, Felixx. He's a good guy. I worry about him and the multitudes of fine folks who truly believe that they're penetrating the truth. The very thing the conspiracy media creators accuse mainstream media of doing, presenting things out of context, not doing deep enough fact-checking.
I don't see any links. Maybe I'm missing it somewhere.
Wanting to sensationalize and provoke for views.
There's no reason for this to be in here except to murder people.
Okay, so
They were doing the same thing to their own viewers. Yes, this rabbit holing is thrilling.
Fuck CNN.
But I can say, from experience, that there are probably periods of deep despair in their lives as a result of this. We were just exchanging one puppet master for another, except this puppet master was more fucked up. There was no way I was ever going to be able to get through to Felixx, and I'm sure he felt the same way about me. In a last-ditch effort, I told him about the proper context of the Gates clip. He said,
You're trying to convince me that Bill Gates is a good man?
I told him that I can't, in good faith, take sources seriously if directors mislead viewers by using clips taken massively out of context.
I can't trust these videos.
He finally admitted.
Yes, Jordan, it is taken out of context, but the director only wants you to feel the real feeling of how evil he is. And besides, you see that little smile Bill Gates gives when he says it? Come on, GMOs are dangerous, man. Look how nervous his wife is, Jordan, even if it is out of context. CNN is finished. Nobody will listen